If you've seen the Crafter's Square vinyl at Dollar Tree and wondered, is it any good? Wait until you see what I made with mine. Hello, welcome back to the Crafty Organizer. I'm Noreen Burke, and on this channel, I love bringing you ideas for organizing, decluttering, doing upcycles, DIYs, and anything crafty. Back at the beginning of the year, I did a Dollar Tree haul, and when I saw this vinyl, I lost my mind. First of all, you get 4 feet of the vinyl, which is crazy given that it's only $1.25. But I wondered what I could do with it and how well it actually worked. The holographic was obviously my favorite. I kind of lost my mind when I saw this one, and I made a joke about I should make shoes, and so many of you commented back, you should, and I thought, okay, I don't wear heels really anymore, and I don't have a need for another pair of shoes that I would wear out. And then I had the epiphany that I have roller skates that I use often. And there are several brands, Impala being one of them, that makes these opalescent, iridescent, holographic skates that are fabulous. And I thought, that's what I'm going to do with this vinyl. I am going to cover my skates with this vinyl, show you how it works, test them out, see how well it adheres, and share some tricks I learned along the way. So let's get started. These are my worn out, tried and true and very loved roller skates. They're just the old-fashioned white boot. I took out the laces so that I could go ahead and give them a nice wash. They certainly needed that. And then I got a damp rag and really rubbed the boots down so that they were clean and didn't have any dust, dirt, or grime on them, so that the vinyl would have a better chance of adhering. I took the roll and measured. The roll is 12 inches wide, which just happens to be the perfect width for it to wrap around the skate. And then I measured from the base of the boot to the top, which was right around 6.5 inches. So I went ahead and used one of my finger blades. I put a new blade in it so that it was nice and sharp, and I just cut down one small piece so that it would be easier to work with. Now, I did find that this type of vinyl doesn't have the edge going around it the way you would get the Cricut film or any of the other brands, so it's a little bit harder to find the edge to start peeling it, but everything else about this vinyl felt very similar to other vinyl companies that I have worked with. I also had a couple of other tools out. I had a little scraper that I got from the Dollar Tree Crafter Square. I also got a paper towel, and I wasn't sure how it was going to adhere, so I got out some Mod Podge just in case and there was any lifting. Now, I did start off with a thin layer of Mod Podge because initially I thought this might give it a better coating to stick to, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing of showing you, but I ended up washing that off because it actually made it more difficult to stick to. So the clean boot was the better way to go. So with a fresh, clean, dry boot, I just laid it down. I aimed so that the bottom of the vinyl would be at the bottom of the lowest point of the boot. And I tried to space it out in the middle so that the toe was in the middle and the back portion would fit around. I just kept lifting as necessary and just taking my time to really press out bubbles and get the flattest surface possible. I quickly realized that with all of the excess, it was going to be difficult to do this, so I just started cutting around the outside area of the skate so that I could keep working with less material and getting it as flat against the boot as possible. This was sticking surprisingly well. I cannot stress that enough. So I did cut off the excess around the boot, and you can't tell, but I really pressed in the crease, and I cut about 1/4 inch underneath so that with the excess I could get an ice pick and start really pressing it between the boot and the base of the skate. I don't know if that makes sense, but the boot portion comes away from the actual shoe portion. So I used the ice pick to press it in between. And again, I just kept slowly working out every little crease, every little bubble until I got a flat portion. At this point, I'm already shocked at how amazing it looks, but I kept taking my time and refining. I cut away excess around the lace portion because I knew that that was going to be a difficult area, and trying to go around the eyelets and the hooks was going to be impossible. So for me, I just decided to not go past the midpoint, and when my laces are on, you won't even notice that the covering of the vinyl doesn't go all the way. Now I used the point of the ice pick to press out any little holes by popping it, and then pressing it, it gets rid of any little air bubbles and you will not see the little hole. So at the base of the skate, I'm just pressing it into the seam of the leather and then cutting carefully across so that I have a very clean edge. I have to say, I am really impressed with the vinyl at this point. It looks amazing. The toe is going to be difficult. So as I'm putting this together, I don't know how I'm going to deal with that. And the edge around the top of the boot, I was worried about. So I got a file and just filed it away so that it would have a thinner area and less to catch on. And that seemed to work very well. Now I went ahead and used the scraper just to get any more little bits pressed out. And again, this was working so well. When I got to the toe, I just tried to wrap it around. I knew there was going to be a crease, so I sliced it and just layered the two areas over each other, and that worked really well. Again, I know this isn't going to be perfect, but for my own personal needs, I am thrilled to death with how this was turning out. Around this point, there were just a couple little areas that I was thinking, what am I going to do with this section? It's not adhering as well. Should I glue it? I know tape won't work. How am I going to get around these areas where there's going to be consistent movement as I lace my shoes in and out, as I put my foot in and out? Those are always going to be high touching areas that could potentially cause lifting of the vinyl. So I had an idea. I decided to see if my hair dryer would allow the vinyl to shrink down and kind of conform around the skate. That didn't work. But I remembered I have a heat gun for my embossing and scrapbooking. And as soon as I pulled that out, I could see that it was heating up the film and it was shrinking down around the skate. You can't see me, but I am doing a little bit of a happy dance because the vinyl is securing right against the leather, and I can see the grain of the leather coming through the vinyl. So as I got around the base of the boot, there's a little section here that sucks in. I don't know if you saw that. Did you see that? Here's a slow motion. Look at the base of the boot right here, and it just sucked right in and that extra portion disappeared. You guys, I am blown away by the way this is adhering to my skates. So I repeat this whole process to the other side. I do the same thing where this time I cut it a little bit longer. I was a little short on the boot, but I just kept repositioning so that it was just past where the bottom of the boot would tuck into the actual heel portion. And I just tried to make sure that it wrapped all the way around at the farthest point from the toe to the back of the skate, and then just kept lifting, adjusting, pressing, and cutting away excess so that I could really stretch the film lightly to mold around the shape of the boot. I spent maybe a half an hour doing one skate, and the second skate was so much faster because I kind of figured out what worked and what didn't. Honestly, by using the heat gun, it allowed me to have a lot more wiggle room and allowed me to be a lot less forgiving in pressing out all of those little creases and little bubbles in there. So the main thing I focused on was cutting away the excess and just making sure there weren't any big creases, because the heat gun would have just almost highlighted those creases if I did go to shrink it down. The best area that I was impressed at was the area where I lace up. So making the holes, cutting away that excess. As soon as I got the heat gun to it, it just molded right into every little grain. You can actually see the stitching that is in there. I was blown away by this technique, and my mind is already racing at what other things can I cover now and use the heat gun to shrink this vinyl film around items. The last thing I did was really make sure I had that toe wrapped around, and you can't see it here, but I took out another little piece that was almost like a triangle. It was about 1 inch at the top, and then it had a rounded bottom that was wider so that I could lay it over the toe completely. And here it is. I'm sorry I didn't show the shape of that or what it looked like, but once again, I used that ice pick to really press it in. And then I went at it with the heat gun just to really shrink it around the toe. And this skate was done. The last thing I did is take some Mod Podge and just go over the areas that are going to get the most activity and around the top of the boot. So here were the original skates. Here were the inspirations, which, I think they're just beautiful. And here is my skate. And here I am testing them out. I have been skating since I was 9. I loved it when quad skates went out of favor and the inlines came in. I kept my quad skates and have just loved them. But now I'm so excited to take these down and go skating in the park, at the beach. I think these skates are just fabulous. I don't know about you. These make me super happy, and I think they look just as good as those $80 skates. So I've skated in them a couple of times, and the only thing I noticed is right around where I lace up, because that is where the boot flexes the most, especially if I'm doing any tricks or spins. That little area did lift up. So I'm going to go back in with a little bit more Mod Podge. I might try a different type of glue, like a rubber cement or something that has a little bit more flexibility. The Mod Podge is drying hard. So as I'm saying this out loud, I'm thinking a glue that has a little bit more flexibility may last better. But you guys, my mind is blown that I was able to update my old-fashioned roller skates for $1.25 with this Crafter Square vinyl from the Dollar Tree. I'm not sponsored by them. I don't get anything back other than the joy of having these holographic skates. You have no idea how excited I am about these, but I think this application is amazing. Now, I haven't tried the vinyl for anything else yet. I haven't used it with my Cricut. I haven't used it outside to see how it holds up with the weather. So if you have used it for any other applications, I would love to hear what's worked, what hasn't. Did it transfer well? Did it cut well with the Cricut? Did you put it outside and did it stick to the things you applied it to? So if you have used it, please let me know. But with some of the amazing patterns out there, the ability to wrap something and use a heat gun to shrink it down around it, I think just has unlimited potential, and I am excited to try other things. So if there's anything specifically you would like to see covered, let me know in the comments. I want to play with this and see what else it could do. A huge thanks to my patrons who allow me to make these videos, and a thank you to you. Your support of watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, anything else you do to interact with this video is a huge help to grow my channel. It lets YouTube know that what I'm producing is of value, and it also just lets me know that I'm on the right path, giving you things that you enjoy watching. I appreciate you so much. I'm going to go for a roller skate with my new skates. I'll see you guys in just a few days. Bye.